Hello, this is Serp, and I'm here with Andarel and Poiman. Here in the
Hello.
yeah, here in the Breakfast Club, I recently held an event called the Exceed Potluck, which was a nice week-long thing where people brought their favorite customs, fought against everyone else, trading customs between games. So people got to see a lot of different customs, play as against them, and at the end we held a vote to see what custom people thought was the most interesting or something they wanted to learn more about. So for this month, we got Missingno as the winners of that, and I have Andarel here, who designed Missingno from Pokemon Red and Blue, I guess, to talk a bit about how this design process went down as inspiration or stuff you're curious about Missingno.
Hey, how's it going?
We also have Poiman, who actually played Missingno during the tournament, so that's also a nice extra source of insights, hopefully.
I'm the one of the only people that played this character for the past 3 years.
Yeah, this is a fun one to get as a popular vote for this first tournament because there is a lot going on with Missingno. So I guess to start with, how would you describe Missingno as an Exceed character? Or I guess how they relate to how they appear in the original games.
Well, that's a complicated question. So I assume that most people who played, Pokemon Red and Blue remember the Missingno glitch, right? So back when I did two customs back after when I was doing, custom design. That was right after I had stopped like doing development for Exceed because I was the development lead for seasons 2 and 3 and did a lot of season 4 and a little bit with season 6, sort of, which I'll talk about here.
Mm.
But the kind of idea for Missingno and to a lesser extent Fortuna, who I don't know if you've played or not,
I haven't played, but I've seen
is
it.
is that like Missingno as a character should just like feel wrong. Like most people design characters to like feel smooth and interesting. That was the point was to like not do that with Missingno, to do the opposite of that. Um, where like a lot of your attacks just like feel weird and kind of unsettling to play. I don't know if Poiman, that was the feeling you got, where like attacks just feel odd. Um,
No, I didn't really get that feeling. Sorry. Okay, actually, that's not true. I got that with Sky Attack.
Hell yeah, Sky
And
Attack.
So
But
really,
like a lot of attacks sort of do things that they feel like they shouldn't do. Your economy is a little weird and nonsensical. And your costs are kind of nonsense, as a like the trend, the water gun thing.
yeah.
But so the reason that the entire concept of Missingno is really like, the shower thoughts idea of why don't what happens when cards have the same name, right? Like this was a big discussion in season 4 because we had just released Street Fighter, and there was
Hmm.
a lot of discussion about like why we have multiple different cards named Hadouken. So thinking back, you have you have very few characters in, I don't know, in video games who have a bunch of, especially in RPGs, who have a bunch of attacks with the same name. Like that's
Yeah.
just really rare. And so when I was trying to remember, I remembered the hot nonsense that is Missingno, and I was like, oh, it's perfect. This is a reasonable idea that everybody may or may not remember from their childhood. And so when I opened up Missingno, I was looking at the Bulb Garden wiki for Missingno and was just like, there is a lot of dumb things in here. And from there, this is gonna sound terrible, but the Exceed character basically like Athena just kind of sprung out fully
I
formed with minimal iteration. I think this is like V 0.1 or something.
see.
Um, there was basically no iteration done on Missingno. At once the kit got made, there was, I think, very minor changes. But what I think is more interesting is sort of how the cards got developed, right? Like how they first took shape, because there were a lot of changes during that initial state of putting the kit together.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like your initial concept came from this water gun thing of cards have the same names. How would you resolve that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, since, because Missingno does, get chatted about every so often in Breakfast Club. Water Gun is definitely the most memorable part, I think, of Missingno's kit, um, as it should be. So there was a lot of talk, again, like around season 3 and 4, about EX alternatives, right? So there was the idea of Carl Swanji has overloads that are kind of the closest to how water gun works, right? You have the ability to play another card to make normals EX. And I was really just kind of wondering, what if, and Missingno had come up around the time that season, if I recall correctly, this was like 2023, 2022, around the time that like season 6 development was going on, which I had known a little bit about, and the whole idea of like you should be playing things from your hand a lot, which we all know, we all have opinions on how much that worked well, didn't work, and so on and so forth. But Watergun really kind of took shape from that ethos of like, what if you could make a character that was sort of less telegraphed and more just like you play cards from hand and no one has any idea what's coming.
Yeah.
Right? The opponent has no idea what they're going to get.
Because with EXs,
And
you definitely have like a very, even if you don't know the attack, you know like it's getting these sets of stats. But this you can have like suddenly you introduce a lot of variation on that concept.
yeah, the like information leaking from EXing where it reduces the number of cards it could be, that doesn't happen with Missingno. Like it could be anything plus a water gun, right? And so it's water gun, fire blast, hyper beam, and I think this is actually water gun. I think
Yeah,
water
it's
Oh,
gun.
I
actually
see.
water gun.
Yeah,
Real
that's
water
that's
gun.
actually that's real water gun.
Water gun, water gun, hyper beam, water gun, fire blast.
It's
I
kind of like
also
water gun.
I don't know like over time how many of the Easter eggs in this kit people have gotten, because there's a lot of just like random dumb Easter eggs.
Do any of them have to do with the memory addresses?
So the memory addresses are the sound files for Missingno's various
Ah.
cries across, because Missingno has a bunch of like glitchy noises that they can make, and if you look at the again at Garden, that those are the different cries. The Exceed thing is the broken Pokemon Blue comment for Missingno. The attacks are the 6 attacks that the 2 different versions of Missingno know in Pokemon. Like Missingno actually does learn 3 different versions of Water Gun across Gen 1. Like in Yellow they have Water Gun Payday Bind, and in Red and Blue they have Water Gun Sky Attack.
I guess it's some sort
So
of default name.
yeah, and Pound. I forget where I got Pound from. I think it's. Oh,
Isn't
Pound. What was that?
I was gonna say, isn't that from one of the other missing no variants? But continue.
Yeah, Pound is from M, the
Oh
other
yeah,
glitch Pokemon.
M apostrophe.
Yeah,
The one that makes Arceus look weak.
yeah. So Pound is from that one, and that's also the yeah. The other thing is, people who remember the Missingno glitch, right? The old man part of the glitch, but the 6th card of the deck, which I really wish Tabletop Sim could do. There's no way
Yeah.
to easily look at your 6th card. That's my biggest annoyance with that, because
I think ironically this character works better in physical play than it does in GTS play.
perfect thematic.
Is this character ever something you've wanted to print out, or mostly just made for TTS?
They were made for TTS just because most people play on TTS. They
Makes
do
sense.
like you said, work better on paper as a result, which is very funny. But yeah, so I think in terms of attacks, like the 3 water guns are all kind of followed my Street Fighter design ethos of take an attack that's like really sick and then chop it up, right? So take an attack that's like if you think about how criticals work, you make a really good attack and then you hide the thing that pushes it over the top behind a critical.
Yeah.
And so most of the water guns, their thing that makes them really good is the boost that you effectively don't get, right? For example, water gun, the +2 power -2 guard on the fast nuke is the thing that we'd really want.
I feel like the bonus it gives.
Oh yeah, the -2 guard is irrelevant on a speed 6 at range 3
Yeah.
or 4.
I know
Right?
people have talked a bit about like malicious design in terms of the attack and the boost, so this is kind of similar in terms of the
Oh
attack
yeah,
with its like
absolutely.
its own EX effect.
Yeah, because of a quirk of the engine, you can't play 2 water guns together, right? If you do, then you discard both cards and get both effects, which leads in on a wild swing, which is some weirdness.
A funny line.
Um,
I may or may
and
not have done that a couple of times.
yeah, it's occasionally really good. Water gun hyper beam is again like a thing that's really scary for people. Just like the ability to oops high speed or for fire blast like oops high power, or sorry oops high range. Like I really like kind of the idea of a character who just you never know quite what's going on. Like a lot of their attack shapes just are weird, right?
Yeah,
And they're kind of unpredictable in a way that we don't really do in Exceed. Like Exceed just tries not to hide information, and so trying to hide information in a way that was still balanced, I think, ended up being a pretty interesting design challenge.
it's fun.
So yeah, so like Water Gun, for the most part, I think we're all pretty successful. Like the Fire Blast, the Sweep like has the Eugenia sweep, right? Draw one, then discard two at random, just to make the opponent
Oh
maybe feel bad when they get swept by it.
yeah, a bit of
Then
compensation.
yeah, and then plus range is always nice to have, even if it does cost power.
The hill to you it.
It's only 1 power. It's not too big a deal.
I mean, all the water guns are worth it. I think. I mean, I've happily played all of them for their bonus, or gotten taken the bonus from all of them. But you do feel the 1 power. You're not that high power outside of water gun hyper beam, and you can't combine them.
True, true.
I guess it's really silly with sky attack, but like so is everything.
That's true.
You've got hyper beam water gun, which is a 7 power attack, which is really rare, even if it has like nothing else going for it, basically. So
It's big
Hey man,
damage.
guard breakers are pretty rare.
what was that?
Guard
The
breakers.
guard breakers are pretty rare.
Yeah, they are, and like you've got fast options to scare people. So
Yeah. You do not have any other like ignore armor, ignore guard, or push to avoid slow, so that's definitely
no, yeah, you don't. You can throw power at things, right? Like you've got this for power, you've got this for power, you've got armor here. Like you've got effective power, but you do have 2+2 power boosts, right?
yeah.
Or sorry, you've got like two and
That's
you've got some plus power.
yeah.
You've got this, and this. So if you want to chunk people, you can. But yeah, just being able to play a guard breaker, especially because the opponent a lot of the time just like it's kind of a classic that if you don't know what the opponent's going to do, you just play slow. If they're
Yeah.
like, I don't know what's going on, just throw slows at it. Having a sweep crush is really nice to have.
True.
And then payday is your economy, kind of. It's like when I kind of concepted this character, I didn't really know where to put draw, and I didn't really want to put draw anywhere because like, why would you don't really want to draw on a weirdo character for the most part.
Lots of
So
pseudo
tying
EXs.
there, yeah. So you've got it on 5F, which is a absurd boost, right?
Pot of
burst
greed.
is
Hello, Burst. How you doing?
yeah, burst is great. But like that's all your draw, right? You have no draw, no draw, no draw, no draw, no draw, no draw. I mean, you have movement, but this is an expensive movement.
Yeah, yeah.
So like this is your draw, and it's good draw. A 4 special that draws you 3 after, or a draw 2 that just gets you a bunch of information is a good to have. So
And I can come back.
I'll
That's cool.
yeah, and it can come back. This boost is kind of cracked, and honestly, I think there's like little balance stuff that I think I'd like to do at some point, which I can talk about later. But
Yeah, yeah.
this boost is one of the main ones because it feels a little too non-committal. But
It's pretty cracked.
yeah, it's a really good boost. But basically, payday was the what if you tied your economy to a striking, which is not really a way that most characters handle their economy. And so that again, like that's kind of the idea behind Missingno is like, what if we did things a little off? Bind. So bind was a thing that had been talked about as a meme for a while. Like the armor on bind that doesn't work properly and the power on bind that doesn't work properly. If
Oh
you
yeah, it goes away.
transform it, armor goes away, power goes away. Like even though it is a trigger, like just to make it even more confusing.
At least it's on abs for
But
timing.
yeah. So like you can tank a hit and then hit back. You just can't mid speed properly with it.
Yeah.
But so this idea of having like a recurring attack had been kind of done with Wagner at the time. So this is actually a preview of Wagner's weird cards,
Yeah, the
amusingly
ultras, right?
enough, the ultras. But bind is a little less scary than those ultras. It just kind of exists.
That's
and
true.
It's a mid speed. Yep. Except the ultras
They go
seal
away.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Bind
trade-off.
just stays forever. And if you've played Pokemon, you know that bind is just once you start mashing bind, you just mash bind forever. So
Especially in Gen 1, right?
especially in Gen 1. So you'll note that unlike a lot of on a lot of characters, the developers will talk about like, oh, making it like the kit play cohesively or talk with the UA in Exceed mode. That is not a thing with Missingno. None of that is irrelevant or important. This character doesn't have a UA that like the cards care about. I mean, they do have a UA. It's really good, but like the cards don't care about it.
Yeah. As Water Gun kind of
Yeah.
carries a lot of that weight
I mean,
instead.
water gun cares.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so actually, I'll get to that. That was another big design thing for them because Hyper Beam Water Gun cares especially.
That is true.
Because this is the only way to EX it, and this is a hell of an EX. I mean, they're all crazy EXs, but yeah. So
God.
those are the specials. Like this character kind of lives and dies on their specials. Their ultras are both again like nice to haves, but they're often boosts. I found they're both like perfectly good attacks that are worth playing, but the boosts are both really good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that was
Sky Attack is very much a case of a season 2 no card more than anything.
yeah. I mean, I love Sky Attack. I feel like Sky Attack the art was developed off of like a meme that I can't actually find, so I might have just imagined it of like
Hallucinated.
person opening their hand and then a bird like something flying out of it into the camera. Like a have this meme.
Yeah.
But people seem to understand get the point across.
The Peaches thing.
The the art is it gets the point across.
It's powerful.
But
Will
yeah,
bird
like,
be upon ye?
yeah. Is
Yeah.
that the meme? Is
It
it
might be.
is it XP upon ye? Am I just misremembering this? 1 second.
Important digression.
Yeah, it is.
Side
Good
distraction.
memory. Yeah, that is the meme. It's bird be upon ye. Okay.
Incredible.
Okay.
The mystery's been solved. Andarel's no longer crazy.
Yeah, no longer crazy. I knew it was something, but I literally could not remember what it was. Yeah, it's bird be upon ye. So, yeah, like Sky Attack, this card is a bit, right? Like it's so good and also so bad.
It's like
because
a really weird Carnage Scissors, except it's also speed dodge.
except it's like it's also a weird speed dodge because
Yeah.
because the time that you most want to speed dodge is when someone boosts speed and it doesn't catch speed 8.
That's true.
And that's like an actual real concern against a lot of the things you boost speed against.
It's true. I ran into that several times in the tournament.
Like, I think what happened was originally it was attacks at speed 5+ don't hit you, and then I was like, that's too normal. Let's make it 5, 6, 7. But then that was too bad, so let's make it also range 5, 6, 7. And then if it's range 5, 6, 7, it's gotta like jump forward. Because like how Sky Attack works in Pokemon, right? Like you fly up and then you fly down. So if the opponent is really fast, they still hit you before you fly up and then you die. Or if they do like a multi-turn weird slow thing, because like if they don't actually try and hit you while you're flying, you also die.
A bit of a.
You're describing fly, not Sky Attack.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah. Sky Attack is just like cloak, no, but like it works. It's a metaphor.
Is Sky Attack just actually just the like weird janky?
Yeah, I think you just like cloak yourself in light or whatever.
It's basically 2-turn.
It's the 2-turn one. Yeah, and so if you get hit fast, you die, right? If you flinch, or you at least I feel like in some I think in some generations Sky Attack like was disruptible, right? Or my
I guess you
Power
probably
is
can't like
undisruptible.
fake out on the second turn, but
No, you're right. It's got the second turn fake out.
yeah, that's what's happening.
But yeah, no, I definitely conflated it with fly. Again, don't care. Um, it's Missingno. It's Missingno.
Yeah.
I was crazy about something else. But yeah, so like Skytack is very specific. It gets the job done. It's a good use of 2 gauge. I've seen players get very salty about this card. And kind of the other running joke was that this character, like, should have things that make you feel comfortable playing dumb into them. For example, water guns after close one, water guns after close one still
Yeah.
makes it lose to sweep, and Skytack still potentially loses to focus and maybe sweep depending on the situation. Like if before advance 4 is also kind of finicky, but that just makes you want to play into hyper beam, right? So like there's a lot of just yeah, there's an obvious answer to this, but also like I'm kind of just a weirdo Shoto. Like this kit is pretty Shoto coded after all said and done.
I guess so. This is like your DP.
Oriani's gonna be happy.
You could call this a kick.
Like your DP is non-conventional because it involves this, right?
Yeah, you need a range boost.
But like you have a DP with this and grasp, you've got a mid-speed like guard crushy thing,
You
you've
could call
got a
that a
sweep
kick.
like you've got another mid-speed like
Fireballs.
you've got whatever.
You put hyper beam with spike. You've got a range 1 spike.
Yeah, kind of.
A very abstract sense of throne, but
Yeah, they're the weird Shoto. And then you've got like the extremely situational beat a bunch of stuff, and then the boost on this is sort of again a running joke in terms of like the no one ever has any idea what to do with speed and armor. It's just
Put them together.
it's just like what are the weirdest like what are the best stats? All right, speed is amazing, armor is amazing. Do they synergize? Not really. Like this boost is still amazing, but like
It's amazing because it's the second copy of Light.
yeah. So there's been running talk like for years when I was talking with Blue that like maybe this should cost force and make you discard and make you draw cards just to like make it less more committal. Where it's like cost 2 force and draws 2 on now or something, to make it less just like a free extra copies of Light. But
it makes sense.
hard to argue with Light plus armor, right? It's an ultra boost.
Yeah. A little bit of Way of the Warrior flavor.
Yeah, except it's just it's Way of the Warrior for stats that you don't want to combine as much as Way of the Warrior stats. And then Pound is, it's Pound. It does stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
It always feels bad to get hit by, and it only ever does half the stuff at the same time. But it's a card. It does things. The people get confused by it a lot, which is intentional. I feel like I should rework it at some point to be less confusing, but then I'm like, it's fine. It's Pound.
Are there like 2 specific functions you wanted this to fill, or is it just like you made it do 2 things because it was funny?
A little bit of both. So this character came during like the season 4 to 5 lull, and one of the eternal things that bug me about season 3 in particular is the lack of real proper sweep likes, even committal ones.
I see.
And because you just a lot of these characters have trouble into play some plus power, chuck things on curve, hope for the best. And so Pound is a card that either how do I put it? Pound is kind of an equalizer. Like it's okay at pushing advantage, but like you both lose a lot of resources, which means that it's good against certain character archetypes, especially after assault. And especially like after something like, plus power assault or plus speed assault doesn't work because it's 0 range, so don't do that. Like or plus like rate. Sorry, no, these assault doesn't synergize with these very well into Pound, but particularly this one or this one,
always good.
like the plus power into assault, and just having here's a bunch of damage. I have advantage. What do I do with my advantage? Like throw Pound. So your gauge burns are a little weird on this character, right? Like you've got 3 gauge outlets, 1, 2, 3, and your
Yeah.
Exceed is really good. At least it's really scary. It's might not be as good as it looks, but like it's annoying to deal with for a bunch of reasons, mostly because of the EX striking.
Yeah.
But just having gauge outlets that are like if I'm not comfortable striking a bunch that are being like I disrupt the opponent really bad, or I have a 10 power counterattack that I can throw into their giant like pile of boosts is I think an important role to fill, even if it's not like a engine piece.
Yeah. A bit of diffusal, I guess, in a way.
Yeah,
4-10-2 stun immune is pretty good.
That's true.
yeah,
As it turns out.
1 to 3, 1 to 3, 10 2 is a thing worth playing for a 3 gauge, even if it requires you to have been hit.
It's 2 to 4-10-2.
Yeah, because it's close, I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's 2 to 4. Yeah, because you don't have the range issues, which again is a little.
Unless you pair it with water gun, and then it's 1 to 3. Or water gun hype beam.
Yeah, and then it's 12-2.
Oh, yeah.
Big
No,
numbers are always cool.
it's 10-4.
Sorry. And yeah, I was like, I knew I glitched a bunch of this. Yeah, so now then it has good range, but it's way harder to get the counterattack because you're way faster.
Yeah. It's balanced.
Yeah, it's perfectly balanced, as all things must be.
Exactly.
And yeah, so you can see, having not played this character in a while, the kit is getting me too, because it's meant to be a weird kit.
Yeah.
So yeah, talking about the Exceed, I really quickly want to talk about the boosts on their specials.
Yeah, I was going to ask about
So
these
yeah, so
reversal
you've got
potions.
these 2 are kind of like just role players, but these 3 are interesting, and you could actually see how Exceed has evolved since this was made, because these boosts were all meant to be like, this is a cool version of a card that like people want, and tech plus draw a card is like so weirdly valued now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because now we have check plus strike.
Yeah, we have all sorts of tech plus stuff now. That wasn't really a thing back then. But the whole idea here was that I could have made these cost a force, right?
Yeah.
But like, force for a better boost is boring, and the really cool thing about this is that it gives the opponent a mini game to play. Like the opponent wants to get a card into their gauge that they want to recur, and it makes it so that these characters like can get pressured by things that aren't like the normal thing to be worried by. Like nobody really cares what specific cards the opponent have in their gauge unless the UA calls for it, right? Like that's just
Yeah.
not a thing you care about. And so because these cards already do 2 things, having them do a third situational thing I felt was fine and interesting, but that had to compete with like really good attack and really good fake boost. Right?
Yeah.
And so having it be like kind of situational made it more interesting. These are really powerful, but they're often powerful in a way that like requires some setup. Like for example, retreat 2, like +1 power, retreat 2, and strike is stupid. And if the opponent has no cards engaged, you can just mash it, but you're giving up a lot to do it. And if you're doing it later, I mean, a lot of characters, especially characters who care a lot about gauge, right, might not actually want to recur cards if they're trying to
Yeah.
race or like maintain 3 or 4 gauge. So just like having a lever to pull that's like, hey, here's a weird lever. It doesn't actually affect you. You can always choose not to, but Missingno gets cool stuff. Is sort of a fun. I don't know, Poiman, if you felt that, but that was kind of the idea behind it.
Oh no, I absolutely felt that. Though someone had to point out to me the returning a card is not always something the opponent will do.
But yeah,
if
for
they have too much
sure.
engaged.
Especially if you have a focus in your hand.
That's also true. I do appreciate the return to non-focus attacks when you
Yeah.
discard 10s. No reading here.
Yep, no reading. This was really an era of us having strong opinions about reading, which we still do, but they're slightly different. And yeah. For a moment, that I also said like non-focus from their gauge, but I was like, nah, don't bother. If they want to return reading, that's on you. You played this boost.
Just
True.
Yeah, you made that choice. But yeah, like OX43. I wish these has names that are better to talk about, but we're just gonna call them by the numbers. OX43 is great. You this is sick with assault, and again we have like double malicious design, right? Because assault would be amazing. Like this is amazing with water gun, obviously, with water gun, and is amazing with assault, which is amazing with water gun's kicker.
Yeah.
So you have like double malicious design in that sense.
His head
The
turns into
yeah. Again, like the hyper beam one, the discard, the defuse the situation is pretty relevant with the plus speed and minus range, but it's not as wedded. And then a bunch of recursion on the sweep like and the range like that one's like nice to have. But I think this is probably the most interesting of the water guns in a lot of ways. Though this is the most fun to play.
Big numbers always cool.
You play big gun.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you describe the discard Wargun for effect as kind of an alternate to a boost, because that's kind of when you mentioned that this character is kind of like a Shoto, I was thinking Shotos usually have like a lot of stats that they want to boost, don't they? But you kind of have it built into those water guns.
Yeah, so like this character has 3 hidden boosts that don't take an action, right?
Yeah.
Like these 3.
I always call them unreactable boosts.
Yeah. And they're like they have trade-offs and they eat really important cards and they can't be EX'd, but they are fundamentally like a weird design space adjacent boost that I think that the players who've played this character have been pretty interested in that because it's just a weird thing that you don't really get elsewhere and also has a meme attached to it and that's always fun.
That's true.
And so yeah, so I guess to kind of cap off the water gun discussion, so the Missingno doesn't have a UA, right? That's quite rare, but like it's not unheard of. Most
Yeah.
Shotos tend to have kind of minimal UAs, and because their cards really do the talking. And I think that's definitely true of Missingno. Or I think this is apostrophe M technically, and this is Missingno. But
True.
Yeah.
when you become Missingno, when Missingno is unveiled, you have a perfectly reasonable UA that does things, I guess.
You can
And
go
so,
places.
like, the action on Missingno, I don't know how much you used it. I've used it a little bit, but like most characters can kind of wait it out, I guess.
Yeah, I've used it a couple of times when I just needed to do I needed to change from range to melee or melee to ranged. But generally, I try to avoid using it because I only have I only have 3 strikes in overdrive.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so that was kind of the idea. Again, like most overdrives are meant to be like a smooth engine, right? That's kind of the Blaze Blue thing. And so this was meant to be in like a real overdrive trade-off. You don't you overdriving doesn't usually give you options. Overdriving is usually you've committed to doing the thing, let's do the thing, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of
Right.
and so Missingno being like, here are 2 really unfair feeling routes, either free EX strikes or free absurd movement, but you pick and you only have 3 turns, and the last one has to be a strike if you want, has to be a strike as the choice. Was meant to feel kind of weird and interesting, and you do it if you have to, but I don't know if you movement is necessarily you want to overdrive for the movement, but it's also like your only movement. So,
Yeah.
It's true.
you know,
You have after close 1 on water gun.
yeah, you have after close 1 on water gun. You got before advance 4 on sky attack, which is real.
So
You don't
Missingno
really
should just
want to
move.
use that for movement. You've closed up the 2 on pound, but so like you've got some, and your ranges are quite generous, right? You're not like a super long ranger, but if somebody wants to play super long range into sky attack, more power to them. I am happy to throw the bird at them, which I guess is me. I'm the bird.
There's some kind of funny synergy I
Never get
see
on me.
in terms of like I don't know how much it comes up, but if you don't strike with overdrive, then you have a bit of knowledge of your deck eventually, which could play into that funny EXing line with the water guns.
Yeah, it is meant to do that. I have considered, changing it to be something like not the 6th card, but it just felt really funny to give players knowledge of the 6th card in their deck and let them remember that. It's also way more thematic because, that's how the Missingno glitch works.
Yeah.
99 copies of the 6th item in your bag.
Which is why it gets EX, because it duplicates.
Yeah, exactly.
It all comes together.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of dumb memes in this character, but that's why they work.
Yeah.
So, and similarly, the the burst is just kind of an econ thing, but burst being like here's the freest economy we can think of that's like meant to be. Pound is kind of situational, right? Like it's not super situational, but it's kind of situational.
Depends on
And
what
them just
era.
being like, here's the glue that holds your economy together, just being literally burst, just seemed funny and honestly worked kind of well, I think.
I mean, yeah, it was like everyone used it. So
And
Important.
honestly, the other thing about Missingno, and this is more true of Fortuna than Missingno, but Missingno is meant to glitch the action economy a little bit. They characters care a lot about action economy, and people will talk at
Yeah.
length about the action economy being like a thing that characters need to tune. And like you can't have too many actions, or you have to commit at a certain cost for too many actions. Missingno already breaks that on multiple levels, right?
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Um, Pound just also breaking the action economy felt fine.
It's already past the point of no return.
Like, yeah, you're already at the point of, hey, what if like free actions? It's fine. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, everything but Sky Attack gives you free actions in some capacity.
That's kind of true. Yeah, because you can
Like
boost this and
this gives you a free boost. This gives you free draw, like a lot of free draw. These obviously give you free boosts. This gives you the free draw. This is Sky Attack.
Well, the payday gives you a free draw, and then if you boost it, it also gives you a potential +2 power down the line.
Yeah. Um.
Which
Yeah.
I mean, I did use to great effect at one point.
oh, that's
Yep.
exciting. But yeah, kind of cycling around to something you mentioned before. The second half of the questions I had was just how do you feel about this design now? Like, is there anything you've been thinking of changing? Do you think it like does the
So
things you wanted to do?
yeah, it definitely does the things I want to do. I've tried tweaking this design a couple of times, and every time I've looked at it and been like, I don't know if this is actually better, and I don't want to release a design if I don't feel like it's solidly better. Um, they the water guns, very happy with all of them. No further comment. Like they feel great. I don't think any of the numbers would change. I don't know Poiman from playing with it if any of the numbers like you think would change, um, or if you would tweak anything on the water guns.
I don't think so. No, I think they're like they just feel really good. If anything, it would be the attack on Fire Blast, but I wouldn't know what to change about it, so I
Yeah,
probably just wouldn't.
yeah. It's like it's 6 effective. You could increase the guard by 1 to make it more of a proper sweep, but like it's kind of boring, and it already does enough good things that I don't know if it needs to be as reliable as a proper sweep. Um, and you also have like plus defense on this, despite it being more of a light than a whatever the name for generic +2 armor boost is. I don't know if we've settled on one as a community yet.
Hmm.
The
Let's see plus
yeah,
too much.
it's not a common boost, yeah. Because +2 armor on its own doesn't really do much. So what Fire Blast, Water Gun, Fire Blast, whatever you want to call it, it's probably the most boring of the attacks, but like it's a sweep like, and those are pretty good to have, and you have plenty of ways to beat the things that beat it. So no further comment, for me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bind is fine. I think it's aggressively fine. I think it is meant to be aggressively fine, and it doesn't like feel bad to play. It's got good enough numbers that it's a solid mid-speed projectile that will beat fast projectiles, and you don't really feel bad chucking into slow projectiles.
You know, you have one thing you can do to make Bind even more thematic.
The thunder stomp
Change
effect.
the range to 2 to 5 to represent the 2 to 5 turns of Bind.
That could be funny.
You know, I don't know if I thought of this, but I feel like players who play cross will never forgive you when they get caught by a range 5 bind and then comboed into Sky Attack.
Hey, it's just like Gen 1. Come on.
True, that is very Gen 1.
Simulationist design.
Yeah, that's malicious design for a different reason. Payday, like I love the attack on Payday. I feel like I like it. I think players have enjoyed it. It's got some weird spice to it. Um, the boost is really free and could probably be tweaked, but I haven't found a way. Like I get why it shuffles into your deck, right? Like I think players understand intuitively why it shuffles into your deck. It's
Another
a little
chance.
silly, but I don't know what I would replace that with because it feels a little wrong to just get rid of it.
Yeah, like I'm not sure how you would change it because, well, yeah, it is free. You are like speaking of that glitched action economy, you are still giving your turn up, and this character
Yeah.
desperately needs draw.
Yeah, and like I could make it draw one, and it's, so you still get to look at the top card of your deck and look at a card and shuffle, but like that's a pretty big hit, and I
Yeah,
don't know if
it's
it's that
pretty.
powerful.
Instead of drawing 3 cards, you're only drawing 2 at that point.
Yeah, it's a big hit. And like again, you have the like validation thing of like, do you want to invalidate it for power or get your draw? So this would kind of push you to want to draw more. Um, but yeah, like it's probably fine. That's kind of the issue I keep running into. I I can see reasons to change things, but I never feel like the value add is enough to try and, because Missingno hasn't tested super strong. Like they've tested pretty dang balanced, has been my experience.
Yeah, I think they
Um,
did like
I'd agree.
fairly average in the tournaments, although it was a lot of people playing it for the first time. But
yeah, and they definitely get better with player skill. You know, there's a lot of weird lines you can run just to, but they're very tactical lines. Like there's no Missingno's strategy is hard because they have a lot of counterplay, but the counterplay is made very weird by the fact that their hit is super hard to read at a glance in terms of like what's the optimal range to be against them? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
good luck.
Like depends on what their hand is.
That's a different missing no.
Yeah,
And
like um, it's yeah. So that's, it's just, they're hard to play against, I think, and they don't like feel bad to play against. I think players have generally enjoyed playing against them from the shenanigans. I don't know if playing against them
I've had
100.
multiple people tell me that the water gun shenanigans, especially if you set 2 and make them both invalid to make the wild swing with both water gun boosts, it's been described to me multiple times as a very hype thing.
Nice.
yeah,
And also, it is hype, and it also importantly resolves a important rules ambiguity, and that's the double factor that I like to hear.
a very cool
Um,
solution.
yeah, because you know, for a while it was like if you discard 2, which one is the real one, and which one is the boosted one, and the answer is why not both? You know,
Okay, no,
yeah, as they say on the internet.
Poiman has any
So
more thoughts about it? I'd like to hear like, how did you feel playing the character? Do you think from what Andarel's been talking about, that's you kind of got that feeling of jankiness that Missing No is going for lack of a better way to describe it?
So okay, yes and no. I think so remember, I'm the Sydney and Serena head, so that's a character that definitely does not play akin to what they were originally intended to play as.
That's a standard.
I mean, they sort of do, but in a very weird way. So for me, it is a bit of a jank kit, but it kind of is really, it's cohesive in a very weird way, which is why, of course, I love the character. Uh, but they don't feel to me like super jank or super weird, like super. Oh, guy, sorry, words are escaping me.
It's
English just
fine.
failing me.
I guess
Let me shut up and try again.
fair enough.
It is a jank kit, especially like I find that I don't really use Bind very often. I mostly just boost it as a second copy of Fierce or to threaten it. Um, and stuff like that, where there's a lot of cards in the kit that are very situational, but because there's so many situational effects that kind of cover a lot of different situations, they sort of all complement each other. and you can threaten the things in certain situations to use things in situations that they normally wouldn't be used in. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
learn how everything fits
Yeah, and
together.
I think that was like the real goal. Like this was never. I mean, this was an April Fool's custom, right? Like this was part of
Yeah,
the April 1st tradition. But just because it's an April Fool's custom, like some people will make characters that are very like obviously silly. Missingno was always meant to be. Missingno's a real character, and Missingno is meant to like flow pretty well. They're just meant to feel like a little bit off in a lot of ways. Like things are just kind of like this is a little strange, or this is a bit. A lot of time characters are janky in a way that just feels bad, right? Like you'll have characters that have kits that are kind of at odds to each other, maybe in interesting ways, but like that just feel bad to play. Um, the sort of classic version of that is the season 6. What attack are you attaching to your strike, or what effect are you attaching to your strike? Jank, right?
mm,
Where the kit is sort of at odds with itself, and maybe for interesting reasons, maybe not. But that's sort of a design language that the game uses, right? You're allowed to sort of make people make hard choices. And Missingno wasn't really meant to pose those kind of hard choices. They're just meant to be like, here's a gigantic pile of options, some of which are strong and some of which aren't, and most of which have like reasonable costs associated with. Good luck. You have plenty of ways to play with this. Figure it out, guys.
the
Figure it
open
out.
world adventure.
And that's probably why I love the character. Is their toolbox character, and their tools are all just a little strange. They're extremely effective, but it takes some work to get used to them.
Yeah, from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
feedback people gave for the character, I think a lot of the people playing him for the first time did have like that feeling of what is going on with this character, but it is kind of cool. Like you understand how everything works, and it starts to feel like a more cohesive kit. That's a really cool effect.
Yeah, there's a kind of genre of game in board gaming in particular, and where you just can't teach the thing, right? Like you teach it and then you're like, this is gonna make no sense. Let's play like a round. And then after the first round, it's like, oh, this actually makes some sense. And after like 3 rounds, it's like, oh yeah, this just feels right. This just makes sense. Things do what they're supposed to do, even if it wasn't obvious from the rules. And I think that's kind of where I was aiming for Missingno, and I think that's kind of where it landed, where it's just the only way to really understand how this character works is just to push buttons and see what comes out, and then eventually it's like, oh, these are the buttons you want to press together.
Experimental.
And I found that a lot of the players who were playing it for the first time even admitted that when they started just simply experimenting instead of trying to win, they started doing a lot better.
Oh yeah, that is, I consider that a mission accomplished, to be honest. Uh, and I would say the same for people who like my customs. If you play Fortuna, you'll have probably a similar feeling. Though Fortuna is more of a Shoto E, um, but like yeah, also meant to do that kind of weird. Just do stuff. See what comes out of it. There's a lot of little combos and little mini lines, and I think Missingno really shines in the sense of like Missingno is very tactical, right? They're not a character that has a big strategic game plan that you're trying to execute because they don't have a way to stack overwhelming kit plus stats plus UA plus transforms or any like key EXs that are gonna overwhelm the opponent. Their EXs kind of suck for the most part.
Let's get
Your your
overdrive.
E- your EXs, yeah, your EXs that are amazing, you're not allowed to EX. Like Bind is a good EX, I guess, but like you could also just play Two Fears. Payday is a terrible EX, to be honest. It's like truly awful. Town is a bad EX. Skytack is a mediocre EX at best, and probably a bad EX. Water guns are great, but you can't EX them. So having that whole like you're sculpting a hand, but you're sculpting a hand for like toolbox water gun reasons, right? The whole game plan of like season 7 where you're trying to like find these mini combos and chains and things and work for a big payout strategy. You can still do that, but you do it in a really different way for most characters, right? Because your resource is what you've got in front of you in a way that I think like only really season 6 kind of stabbed at, and I don't I think they were too tied to the way that like they handled their boosts to really succeed at it in
Yeah.
some ways. And by throwing off the laws of boosting, I think Missingno kind of gets that feel a little better.
Yeah, Missingno is like boosts. Oh, you mean water gun, right?
Yeah, just free yourself from the mortal confines of the boost action, but also boost a lot.
Enlightenment.
Your boosts are
Yeah,
really good.
in one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's most of the things I wanted to get around to. Do you have like any closing thoughts?
Honestly, if anyone does have suggestions for things that they would want to change, like let me know. Because like I said, I've looked at it several times and I've always been like, this just doesn't seem worth changing. So I'm always happy to take feedback on customs. I have a couple of ideas, so I've been out of the customs making scene for a while, and they're probably also gonna be really jank. So yeah, but mostly just happy that players are enjoying this weird pile of nonsense, and every so often, someone pops up being like, "Hey, what is this weird character that does things that don't make sense?" And I'm like, "Congratulations, you two have learned about Missingno.
Welcome to the
It's a weird
abyss.
pile. They're a weird pile, but they're great."
Yeah. Anything from you,
They're,
Tim?
they're, they're a little confused, but they got the spirit.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they're trying really hard. They can move 5 for free.
few characters
That's
can.
that's their best. That's their best attempt.
They're kind of a bird sometimes, so it makes sense.
They're occasionally a bird. They can briefly turn into a bird when they need to close distance.
Yeah. You have anything from you, Poiman?
Imagine the one that eagle screeches.
Yeah, imagine yourself as a bird. That's what happens whenever anyone tries to zone them. Because yeah, actually, that's the other like really quick thing is
Mm.
a lot of the kit is designed to like make counterplay seem really obvious, but actually really messy. As I'm sure you notice, Poiman, like a lot of things that are just kind of the obvious lines of counterplay just sometimes don't work randomly.
Yep.
Where
We have to count
really
for something.
really Joffrey coded. It's like, hey, they are they're a ranger they're a close rangey character with an amazing gap closer that also like loses really hard to focus, or like loses moderately hard to focus, or like dive maybe. Like the sky
I
attack
want
versus
to
dive
play.
fight is classic.
It's a mix-up of sorts.
Yeah, dive actually really does mess with sky attack.
Yep, it's either two birds passing in the night or you get stunned.
Yeah. I think that's most of everything I want to get around to. I really appreciate
Yeah.
having a chance to talk to you about this. I hope that this series kind of helps people figure out how to go about making customs. And this is probably something that not many people will jump right into doing, but it's really interesting to see like everything kind of has a justification, a reason, and it's comes together really well, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure necessarily if my design strategy of put a bunch of memes together in a way that a kit wants is really the ideal kit design strategy, but I hope that my sort of why each card is the way it is useful to people, because this, like I said, this character really did not get iterated. But what you'll notice if you look at them is these are a lot of like classic E shapes, right? Like Sky Attack is kind of mirrors Carnitizers in some
Yeah,
ways. Um, Pound is weird, but it's like because Pound is really two attacks in one. But like both of these attacks are pretty common attack shapes. The like slow counterattack Ultra. These water guns are all kind of classic shapes. Bind has gotten more common now, but you'll see it. And then I don't know, Payday's Payday. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah, Turtle is the weird one out.
sometimes you just need your money.
Payday just shouldn't be an attack. Like on most kits, like I mean, Payday is what's the name? It's Tandem Top, Milia's card draw attack,
Oh.
and it's like it's not common for an attack to be your main source of card draw, but when it is, it looks kind of like potentially Payday. And both Tandem Top and Payday are attacks that are very like safe to oops throw out, right? Payday you cycle a bunch of cards from your hand. Tandem Top you probably dodge and get some positioning, and it's also got pretty generous ranges. So
Yeah.
if you are making your attack your economy, like make it feel good, even on whiff. If you're doing a hit draw pile, then your character better be one of those wants to keep momentum type characters. Hopefully,
Yeah.
And Missingno does enjoy his momentum.
Missingno loves momentum because Missingno is a toolbox character whose main payout is having a lot of power, and that means they just want to be using their hand to beat you up, mostly.
I do find it very funny, by the way, that the speed in the kit really isn't that overwhelming. Aside from initiate, pound, or payday, for the most part, they have lower speeds, which is great because Missingno and Source is all power and nothing else.
Missingno and Source, yeah, they just do stuff. And is Missingno, no, M is the one with the glitched attack stat, right?
I think that's right.
Missingno has 187 attack.
Yeah. They're all like bigger than they're supposed to be, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like 0 defense and like I think like 14 speed and all literally it's all an attack. That's Missingno. M is the one with like 240 something in all stats.
You're right, that's right. M is the god, and Missingno is just a glass cannon. Or
Yep.
whatever you call.
Can't get anything done.
Yeah. Yes, Missingno is 30, 130, 0, 5, 30. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
all attack.
The ideal spread.
All attack.
Yeah. Just to wrap this up, thanks again for like. Sorry. Yeah, just to wrap this up, thanks again for like agreeing to talk to me about this. Hopefully this will be a thing that happens every 2 months or so. So, look forward to maybe being back on this, or at least like listening to it. But I hope it was fun for you too.
Yeah, no, great chatting. Hopefully, some people take something from it, and if anyone, has got cool custom ideas, I'm sure we're all looking forward to them.
Yep.
Just make the weird customs.
They're always fun to see and to play.
Yeah, weird customs are great.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to bend the rules a little bit.
True.
If it seems like a really dumb idea, make it, and then let people tell you the cool parts about it. and then it might be really dumb, and then you should like shelve it. But at least make it and see what comes out.
We can tone it down a bit and still hopefully keep the spirits. But yeah. Thanks again for watching, and look forward to the next one. See you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.